Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. I got a fair amount of this done yesterday. I did not finish. It's a lot more work than it looks, and it looks like a lot of work. It's definitely taken me a lot longer than I had planned, but that's okay. So my goal is to finish that today. My goal was to finish that yesterday too. But today I've got some errands to take care of. I have to, in an hour and a half here, I'm going to go to get a crown on my tooth, which is exciting. So I just kind of spent the morning here, and I've been just shuffling the tarot onto the Kabbalistic tree of life and just laying it out. I find it's good for, like, you're having a morning, maybe you have a little bit of smoke, you're having some coffee, maybe you're by yourself, maybe you're not, but you just don't just want to chill out, have a good morning. And I find, like, shut the news off, shut off the news, shut off the social media. The first source of information that you should be consulting in the morning is yourself. Check yourself out. How are you doing? Before you get impressed or influenced by any sort of clickbait bullshit media nonsense, just gonna frustrate the hell out of you. Check in on yourself. See how you're doing. And there's no better way than going through the tarot, in my opinion. You could do an actual, like, tarot reading, but you know what? I find, especially when you're learning tarot, the best thing to do is to actually go through and lay it out on the tree of life the way I've done. Mine's a little tight. It's a little hard to read, but it's not so much reading the finished product as much as it is going through it, putting everything where it's supposed to be, seeing how it all relates to each other. And I also find that it gives your deck kind of like a, maybe not factory reset, but a bit of a restart when you put it all back together into a deck. It's had like this Kabbalistic shuffle, right? Going through all this, I think for me, there's been two cards that I've been drawing a lot, and that's been the Lust card. And this has a lot to do with the energies of the Aeon around me and my vows and commitment to the OTO. That's been popping up a lot to me in the last few days, as well as this card, Death card. And Death card, at first you think, death, that's not a good thing, right? And maybe it's not. It could not be. Like, really, if you're looking at it, you have Gebura, the sphere. And if you're following the path of lightning, Gebura moves right through into Tippereth on the card of adjustment. That's the path. Everything gets balanced and adjusted as it moves in from Gebura to Tippereth. Excuse me. And then Tippereth, being the balanced perfect sun in the middle of the heart, gets broken apart into Netzach. And the path of that being broken up is along the death card. And you can see the death spiraling. I think of, when I see this card, I see like the twisting, spiraling motion vortex coming off of the scythe of death. And I actually visualize him going really, really fast, churning up the water. It's a very watery card in Scorpio. And he's spinning that thing at the speed of like a blender, causing like a big vortex swirl of water. And what he's doing, you think everything's stagnant, and death is just stirring it up. Death is just stirring it up. But where the sight stirs dies. And in order to make something new, something has to die. Everything is always in adjustment. Everything is balanced. And in order to create something new, you need to stir things up. And in the process of stirring adjusted, perfect balance, something's got to go. Something's got to go off kilter. Something needs to change. Something needs to die. Whether that's figuratively or whether that's literally. That's just how the universe works. And one kind of abstract example of that comes to my mind is specifically, I got it from this book. If you are new to Kabbalah, there's 2 books you should be reading. And this is one, Mystical Kabbalah by Dion Fortune. This is an excellent book on Kabbalah for any stage, specifically the beginner. And the other book being, oh shoot, what is the other book? It'll come to me. Oh, maybe this one, I can't remember. Tree of Life by Israel Regarde. Maybe that book, I can't remember. There's another really, really good book, but definitely this one. And she does a phenomenal job explaining in rational, coherent terms how this whole process works. Right? I'm going to go through it. Elevator pitch. You have God. You have oneness. You have pure consciousness. And the universe. As soon as there's a tear, the second there's any sort of action out of this oneness, it immediately breaks into 2. If there's an action, that means there's a beginning and an end. If there's an action, that means there's a start and a finish. The second there's an action, the second there's 2, the second there's duality, now you're in Hokmah. Hokmah is that burst of energy into reality from the ineffable. But this is just the energy. Now you need the space. And if you look at Binah, this needs somewhere to be. Binah is somewhere to be. You look at this, Binah, the way you could picture it as the cylinder of the universe. And Hokmah is like the raw flame inside of the cylinder. And now as you move down between Chesed and Geburah, Hesed is the expansion of a cylinder in this piston. Hesed is expansion. And then Geburah, the charge fires, and Geburah is the contraction. Geburah is squishing everything. It's destroying, it's crushing, it's moving up. Hesed is expansion, it's growing. Okay? It gets balanced in the heart center. And then from the heart center, it breaks apart into the spectrum of light on Venus in Netzach. And then Netzach, that pure rainbow emotion, is moved over to Hod, and Hod goes through it analytically and separates it all into text and speech and science and figures it all out. And here it's just the pure spectrum of light, the pure rainbow just being felt in motion, blowing out into the universe. And here it gets refined into all the different categories and all the different frequencies and all the different languages and all the da-da-da-da-da-da. And then that, again, gets balanced in Yesod, and then Yesod manifested reality. I may have butchered that a little bit, but that's a very, very quick elevator pitch. So if you have this centered light, this is kind of like the highest, most spiritual experience goes. That's pretty much Jesus, the experience of the light. And when that light is being broken down, it's being broken down into the spectrum of color, the rainbow. So you could look at this death card being on that line, acting almost as a prism. A prism there, and pure light coming into the prism and being broken apart into the rainbow spectrum of light. That was a very long explanation for me to just explain that example, but yeah, just a little meditation I'm having, a little bit of a morning java. I'm gonna go get ready to get a crown on my tooth, and then hopefully finish my circle today, run a couple errands, and go with that. Love is the law. Love under will.